Welcome back to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys enjoyed that game last night. As you can see with this smile on my face, I'm happy my Colts won. Let's go. First place in the AFC South. That is the time you guys will see some biasness out of me, is when the Colts win a primetime game, especially when the Colts don't get primetime games. And when they do, they always put us on the road. So we're winners. Let's go ahead and dive into last night's game, into this episode. Really quick, how the episode will be. It's going to be how it's been in previous weeks. But if this is your first time tuning in to Cody Talks NFL, I recap the Thursday night game. At the end, I do give out the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia Player of Thursday Night Football. I run over if there's any relative news on the bye teams. I go into the Sunday 1 p.m. games, the Sunday 4 p.m. games, the Sunday Night Football game, and the Monday Night Football game. And then if you guys do have any questions for me throughout the episode, feel free to go on to our YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when we go live. And if you have any NFL-related questions, or even I know we get a lot of fantasy football questions sometimes in our comments, hit the comment section up. I'll check it periodically throughout the episode. Plus, we got my man Rob manning the show today, so he might keep an eye on that just in case I get too focused in on the show today. Let's go ahead and get into this. The Colts, like I already talked about, they won last night, 34-17. It was a really good game in the first half. The Titans came out, marched down the field on the Colts defense, scored that touchdown. It seemed like they were going to be in control on the offensive side of the ball, and then the Colts defense kind of stepped it up throughout the game. Colts offense struggled in the first half as far as putting the ball into the end zone. They kept on getting into that field goal range, got stuffed a couple times on fourth downs, but they end up finishing 3 of 5 on fourth down, so that was a big thing. And they didn't even punt until the fourth quarter. So it seems like Tennessee's defense has a lot to work on going forward. They need to figure out how to not only get pressure on the quarterback, they need to figure out how to stop the run, how to stop the pass. I guess this Tennessee defense has regressed. It's not as great as we thought it was going to be this year, and how I envisioned, how I saw the defense. But that young stud Jeffrey Simmons is a force in the middle of that defense.
It turns out it's harder to play football when you're not getting free extra practices, Cody.
That is true. And then on the Tennessee's offensive side of the ball, I think I did point this out. I don't know if it was on Cody Talks NFL or I know I mentioned it on one of our podcast network shows, but the loss of Taylor Lewan, it's showing up. The offense hasn't been the same. Tennessee has lost the last 3 of the 4 games, and then including they almost let up a comeback to the Bears last week, but they end up holding on. But yeah, so I think the loss of Taylor Lewan has hurt that offense. Saffold got hurt last night. He was in and out of the lineup. I mean, Derrick Henry still had a good night. I mean, he went over 100 rushing yards against that very stout Colts defense. But Ryan Tannehill just could not get anything going in the passing game. A.J. Brown only finished with 1 catch. They kind of got Jonnu Smith going, but Ryan Tannehill, there was a few throws, like especially that one to Jonnu Smith in the second half that he missed, that would have got them down into the red zone area, I believe, if he would have caught that. And in the end, let's just go ahead and wrap up my feelings on these teams. I already kind of went into Tennessee really quick. They got to fix their defense if they're going to turn things around, and then they just got to figure out their offensive line woes without Taylor Lewan. And if they can't fix both of those, I don't know. You can maybe see them stumble as we get to the second half of the season. As a Colts fan, of course, I would love to see that. Going to my Colts, though, defense is what it is. It's a great defense. They're always going to keep this team within a game. If with how the Colts offense was playing in the first half, if the defense didn't play like that last night, they would have probably ran away with a win. But the defense kept them in while the offense figured themselves out. Now, the Colts offense, let's keep up with that up-tempo. When they were up-tempo, they were able to move the ball, keep Nyheim Hines involved. I know everybody's trying to clown my boy JT, give him some patience. As I said back in May, this wasn't JT's year. He was meant to split reps with Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines. Matt got hurt, so everybody thought he was going to be thrust into that role. Be patient with him. I think he'll deliver as we get to the back end of the season and in his second year. But one quiet thing that emerged last night was Michael Pittman Jr. He had a breakout game. He had 7 catches for over 100 yards. He also had a rush that went over 20 yards, so that's a good thing. Now we're kind of maybe seeing some playmakers emerge for that Colts offense, and if this Colts offense can find any type of consistency week in and week out, and that defense keeps on playing like it is, watch out for the rest of the AFC. But again, let's see if the Colts team can be consistent. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football. It's my man, Nyheim Hines. He was the number 6 prospect. I did the Colts section. Happy birthday. It was his 24th birthday last night, and what a way to celebrate. He had a career high in total yards with 115. He had 12 rushes. To break that down, his 115 yards, he had 12 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And then he also had 5 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. Now, as I always do every week, whenever I give out this encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football, I read the overview section. So to kind of give any new listeners involved, basically players 2 through 8 get a strengths, weaknesses, and an overview section in the book. And this is what I wrote in the overview section about Nyheim Hines. I said, Hines has shown that he can have a specialized role within an offense as a pass threat out of the backfield or in the slot or out wide. He has home run ability because of his speed, contact balance, and he can make the first defender miss. He has a chance to be Phillip Rivers' BFF like Austin Eckler, Danny Wood, and Darren Sproles have been in the past. I don't like to I try to be as humble as possible, guys, but when we hit on this book, and especially when you write something like that and it's kind of coming to real life here in the 2020 season, we've seen it throughout the year with Nyheim Hines. It's kind of cool to read that back, something that I wrote back in June or May, whenever we were putting this book together. Again, if you haven't got your hands on this, you got to. Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia. Go to blitzalytics.com/shop to order it. It's only $35 for this physical copy. Look how thick it is. It's the top 22 players for all 32 teams from the last 3 NFL draft classes, and they have to have less than 12 regular season starts to be in that book to qualify. So it's all the upcoming players in the NFL. Only $35, but if you want the PDF, you get the PDF for just $15. If you just want to read about your favorite NFL team, if you're a Colts fan like me, you want to read what I wrote about the Colts top 22 players, you can only get it for $5. So you can't beat that. I'm going to go ahead and get into these bye teams. It's going to be very quick. Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys, and the New York Jets and the Atlanta Falcons are all on a bye. No major news came out this week outside of Atlanta. Takk McKinley, the guy I talked about last week who kind of threw his team underneath the bus for not trading him, they decided to go ahead and release Takk McKinley, their former first-round pick. So a lot of changes. That's just a sign of what to come for Atlanta. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of changes in this offseason, barring unless maybe a Raheem Morris can get the Falcons on a winning streak and somehow sneak into the playoffs, and maybe they try to keep the band together one last go. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the Sunday game previews. One thing I want to say before I dive into this, for anybody that's been a longtime listener of mine, they know I completely complain about the imbalance of the NFL game schedule on Sunday. And for once, not only we have a balance of games, but we actually, I think this is the first time ever, or the first time in 12 years or something like that. We actually have more 4 p.m. games and then 1 p.m. games. We have 5 1 p.m. games going on Sunday, and we have 6 4 p.m. games. And I'm telling you, Red Zone's going to be on fire all day, not only because of the balance of games, but we have some really great Week 10 games going on Sunday. So let's just go ahead and get into this. First game I'm going to talk about is we do got the Eagles traveling to New York to face the Giants. There is no news on either team, so let's run over the injury report. It's going to be pretty short, which is good for Philadelphia. This is probably the healthiest that they've been coming out of the bye week with With the Eagles, Craig James has not practiced with a shoulder. Lane Johnson has been limited with a ankle, and then that's it. That's it. I mean, if anybody remembers previously, it was like a list of guys on their injury report. And then on the Giants side, Devontae Freeman has been limited with the ankle, Sterling Shepard with a toe and hip, and then Golden Tate with a knee. Let's just go ahead and dive into this game. The Giants are the home team. I'll start with their offense. Their offense is still kind of working through things, but let's just say their offensive line has improved over the last 2 weeks, but they will have a strong test against that Philadelphia front that can get after the quarterback. Daniel Jones does need to continue to protect the ball. He needs to get his playmakers involved with Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard. We'll see if Golden Tate can play this week. He's kind of been in some trouble with the coaching staff, with him voicing his opinion. And then on top of that, he just got hurt in practice yesterday. And then they also got Evan Ingram. The Philadelphia linebacker corps is not that great. They do struggle to cover tight ends. So I would expect them to pepper Evan Ingram with a bunch of targets. The Philadelphia defense, like I said, they got a good defensive front. They got Darius Slay. He's been solid. But this Eagles defense is still suspect to give up some yardage and allow teams to have an opportunity to score. I do think the Giants are going to have opportunities to move the ball, but I'm not completely buying into the Giants offense yet. I still think they're going to turn things around, but I think they're going to have opportunities where not only they stall, but because of Daniel Jones's bad habit of either fumbling or giving the ball to the other team, I think that might show up a couple times on Sunday. And then you reverse sides of the ball for Philadelphia. It's probably the healthiest they've been on the offensive side of the ball all year. Lane Johnson's limited. I'm going to assume he's going to play since they're coming off the bye week. So it's not the official starting line that they had to start the year, but it's the healthiest line that they've had all year. They got Dallas Goedert back in the lineup. Jalen Reagor should maybe try to start coming on as a rookie. Travis Fulgham has been a pleasant surprise. Looks like they're going to get Alshon Jeffrey back. Miles Sanders is coming back from his injury. I think they probably should keep Boston Scott involved, kind of similar to the Colts, right? He's kind of like the Nyheim Hines of their offense. So I think they should try to utilize him and Miles Sanders at the same time. With them being the healthiest they've been, with that being said, they're going against a pretty stout defense against the Giants. The Giants have a good, solid defensive front. Blake Martinez has been a good signing for them at the linebacker spot. James Bradbury is a great cornerback, but they still have some holes. They're like they hustle very hard. They're not going to be a top 5 defense, but they're gonna be able to contain offenses, as we've seen in that Tampa Bay Buccaneers matchup a couple of weeks ago. But with that being said, I think with the Philadelphia having their full arsenal of weapons outside maybe Zach Ertz is the only guy they're missing as far as a skill position player. I know Deshaun Jackson's hurt, but he really hasn't been on the team since he came back to Philadelphia last couple of years because of injury. So with that being said, I think Carson Wentz is going to have a good day. I think he's going to utilize all of his weapons. He's going to pepper them all with targets. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. But I do think the Giants' defense is good enough to stall them, hold them to field goals. And that's where the Giants that's where they're going to have to try to win this game. If the Giants can hold them to field goals outside of the touchdowns, but if Philadelphia can find a way to get those touchdowns over the field goals, they're probably going to walk away with the easy victory. I do think this Giants defense, they do fight hard underneath Joe Judge. This is a divisional matchup, so I do think they're going to keep it close. But I'm going to pick the team I think that's going to end up winning the division, which is Philadelphia. I think they barely squeeze out a win, though. I think they win like a 24-21 type of win for Philadelphia. And then I'm gonna keep on going, guys, with this episode. We got Jacksonville heading up to Green Bay to face the Packers. With this, there is no news, but both teams are pretty banged up heading into this matchup. Let's start with Jacksonville's side. These following 4 players have not practiced. We got Dakota Allen hasn't practiced with an ankle, Doug Costin with a concussion, Gardner Minshew with a thumb, Devine Ezigbo with a hamstring, Chris Claybrooks with I'm sorry, these falling, and then starting with Chris Claybrooks, all these guys have been limited. Chris Claybrooks with a shoulder, Kamalea Correa with a hip, Josh Jones with a chest, Brandon Linder with a hip, Andrew Norwell with a calf, and then Laviska Shenault with a hamstring. And then go to the Packers side of the ball. This could be a big loss for them. Jair Alexander hasn't practiced with a hip and concussion. Mercedes Lewis with a knee. Darius Shepard with a shoulder. These following players have been limited. Kevin King with a quadricep. John Lovett with a knee. Will Redmond with a shoulder. Vernon Scott with a shoulder. Equinemius St. Brown with a knee. Rick Wagner with a knee. And then Robert Tonyan with an ankle. This one's probably going to be pretty quick, guys, as I really do think the Packers are going to blow out the Jaguars, starting with the Packers offensive side of the ball. They got Aaron Rodgers going against one of the worst pass defenses in the league. I think he's going to pick them apart. Devontae Adams is going to pick them apart. And then we'll see what other guy gets involved. Is it MVS? Is it Robert Tonyan? Is there maybe a surprise guy that we don't even know about that blows up? Or is it just Aaron Jones type of performance where he gets going on the ground, in the air? Jamal Williams maybe gets some snaps and gets involved. I think this Packers offense is going to march down the field and be in the red zone. And I would not be surprised if they don't really punt much in this game. And I think they're going to score more touchdowns than field goals. And then you reverse sides of the ball with the Jaguars. Jake Luton, he was a pleasant surprise last week, but I think he's going to have his coming back down to earth type of game. He's on the road in Green Bay. I know when me and Rob did the fantasy voyage yesterday, we were talking about this. As of yesterday, like the weather forecast is supposed to be like around the 40s and it's supposed to be rainy. So I think the Packers defense is going to take advantage of that. I expect both the Smith brothers to get after Jake Luton and pressure him into forced decisions. But if Jair Alexander is out with this concussion, that maybe does open up some deep threat ability for DJ Chark, because he is the Packers' best cornerback, and they really don't have any other quality. I mean, there are some good guys in that secondary, but Jair Alexander is what makes that work. But if they're able to get some pressure on Jake Luton on a consistent rate, then that does give the Packers a chance to maybe have the other guys jump in front of some balls and get some interceptions. Now, I do always try to paint a picture whenever I can if this team could upset the Packers. Now, this is how it could be. Packers rush defense, it's awful, all right? They invite people to run the ball. James Robinson for the Jaguars is having a great rookie year as an undrafted rookie. So, I mean, if Jacksonville can protect the ball, manage the clock, get things going with James Robinson, and then if Alexander's out, if they can maybe take some deep shots to DJ Chark, Keelan Cole every once in a while, and they can convert their drives into touchdowns, it's going to give them an opportunity, but it's going to be dependent on that defense. Can that defense show up? And I just don't have no faith in the defense. But if there was a way Jacksonville could win, it would be running down the ball down Green Bay's throat, scoring the touchdowns when they can, and then maybe, take some chances on trying to force turnovers against Aaron Rodgers. But I don't see it happening. I really do think the Packers are going to win by like 10 plus points. I think they're going to win like a 31-17 type of win against Jacksonville. And I see my man Eric has already a question here in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and address it. He said he dropped KC's defense and stream, or drop KC defense and stream, or keep Saints D for the rest of the season and hold on for the bye. I listed yesterday the Saints defense I think is a good play this week, Eric, so I would roll with them. KC, who they have this week? Or are they on a bye? Rob, do you know who KC plays off the top of your head?
I will find that for you, sir. Looks like they're on a bye this week. Got Raiders next week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They got the Raiders. Ooh, and they got tore up by the Raiders. I would just roll. I would play the Saints this week. You know how I am, Eric. We talk a lot. I'm not a big believer on holding on to defenses. I would just continue to play the matchups and stream. But I definitely think the Saints are a good streaming defense this week. So let's go ahead and keep it moving. Like I said, if anybody has questions, maybe every other game or so, if I take a look over there, I'll try to address them throughout the episode. I'm going to go ahead and keep this moving. We got the Washington football team heading out to Detroit to face the Lions. No news on either team, but let's look at these injury reports. I want to say he's going to go on the IR based on what that injury looked like, but he is on the report right now. But Kyle Allen has not practiced with his ankle injury. Alex Smith is expected to start. Jaron Christian with a knee and then has not practiced. These three guys have been limited. Dontrell Inman with a hamstring, Dustin Hopkins with a groin, and then Jared Norris with a hamstring. And then taking a look at the Lions side, they could be potential. Well, this guy's probably going to miss. Kenny Galladay did not practice with a hip. I think he's going to miss this week. And then TJ Hawkinson showed up on the injury report yesterday where he didn't practice with a toe. So they're missing their two biggest passing threats in the offense. That's going to dampen their chances to win this game. And these number of players have been limited for the Lions. Jamal Agnew with the ribs, Joe Dahl with the back, Jared Davis with a knee, Christian Jones with a knee, Jaron Kearse with an ankle, Big V with a foot, and Nick Williams with a shoulder. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. This game is very hard for me to pick a winner. Where do we start? Let's do how I always do it. Let's start with the defense, right? I mean, the Detroit offense. If Matthew Stafford's playing, obviously he's playing. He'll always give them a chance to win because of his arm. But if they're missing Kenny Galladay and TJ Hawkinson, then what they're going to really need to do is they're going to really need DeAndre Swift, Adrian Peterson to pick up things on the ground. But they are going against a very stout defensive front that features Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Allen. So if the Washington's defensive front can bottle up the run game and force them to be one-dimensional, that's really going to help Washington's chances to win this game because Kenny Galladay more likely out. We'll see if TJ Hawkinson can get a practice in today and see if he can give it a go. But if he is out, then all they really have is Marvin Jones as a proven guy. Jesse James is an all right tight end. I love my boy Quintus Cephas, but he's still a rookie wide receiver. Danny Amendola at this point is a boomer bust wide receiver, but he can keep the chains moving. But this Washington defense it's not only good against the rush, but they're pretty good against the pass as well. But with Matthew Stafford, I think he's going to find opportunities on drives to put themselves in scoring position. I just wonder if they're going to be able to commit if they're going to be able to commit those drives into touchdowns over the field goals. And I think they're going to have times where they do stall throughout the day. This is starting to, as I dive into this preview, this is really starting to feel like it's going to be a low-scoring defensive affair. And I'll say this, Washington definitely has a better defense than the Lions because when we do switch side of the ball, there's nothing on the Lions defense for me to believe in. All their top guys are pretty much hurt. Trey Flowers is currently on IR. Jeff Okudah is going through rookie growing pains. But to their advantage, they're going against one of the worst offenses in the league. Washington, I love Scary Terry McLaurin. So maybe he can go off today, go off on Sunday because he's not really going against much. Like I said, Jeff Okudah, he's been solid this year, but he's also had his rookie moments where he's led up some big plays. So maybe they can get things going to him. Detroit cannot really stop the run, so maybe Antonio Gibson and a J.D. McKissick could have a good day on the ground as well. But they're going to need Alex Smith to step it up. I'm not trying to pick on him, but I know everybody loves his comeback story. But the fact is he did not play great last week. He threw 3 interceptions in 30 minutes. I believe I mentioned it yesterday on Fantasy Voyage. He has the highest amount of checkdown passes for quarterbacks that have thrown at least 100 passing attempts. He's checking down the ball 18% of the time. So there is no threat to beat them deep. The Lions defense can just worry about keeping everything in front of them. So that's where I have my worries. If the offensive line of Washington is not that great, so if Detroit can find a way to create pressure on Alex Smith and force him to make those interceptions like he did last week, then I like the Lions' chances of winning this game. Man, I really do though think this is a coin flip of a matchup. Man, I'm gonna pick a winner here. One of my go-to things, if you guys have been a long-time listener of mine, is if I have a tough time picking the matchup, I typically will go to look at the quarterbacks. Now, maybe a couple years ago when he was with Casey, I might have felt different, or even that one year when he was doing well at the beginning of the year with Washington, I might have leaned towards Alex Smith. But at the current moment, I think Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Alex Smith. So I think Matthew Stafford will be able to convert more drives into touchdowns than Alex Smith. So I am going to pick the Lions. They barely win a low-scoring game. They win like a weird, like 17-13 type of game. I have a feeling we're not going to see this game on Red Zone that much on Sunday. And then let's go ahead and keep it moving. We got Houston traveling to Cleveland to face the Browns. No news on either team. Let's take a look at these injury reports for Houston. These three players have not practiced this week. David Johnson hasn't practiced with a concussion. Senio Kilemete with a concussion. Charles Aminahu with a hamstring. And then Dylan Cole has been limited with a back injury. And then these five players have been limited for Cleveland. Joel Patino with an elbow. Jack Conklin with a knee, Jacob Phillips with a knee, Wyatt Teller with a calf, and then J.C. Treader with a knee. Now, this is pretty much a healthiest Browns team that we have seen in a while. If they can get Wyatt Teller back onto the offensive line, that's going to be huge because once he left the offense, about 4 weeks ago, I believe, when he got hurt, the Browns offense hasn't really been the same. So if Wyatt Teller can get back at that guard position, that's going to open up things for the running attack. Now, we are expected to get some news today that Nick Chubb will be activated off the IR. I believe it was Ian Rappaport came out this morning, and the expectation is that he's going to get activated off the IR. I think he's been practicing without a brace, if I remember that correctly. So they're going to get Nick Chubb back, and Nick Chubb is what makes this offense go. Kareem Hunt, he's good, but we're kind of seeing there is a difference between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in this offense. So they're going to have both their stud running backs back. I think they're just going to run all over the Texans defense. And then when that Browns offense gets flowing through the running game, that's when Baker Mayfield really has a great day because he can feed off the play action. That's going to open up things for Juice Landry. That's going to open up things for Hollywood Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Looks like Austin Hooper's not on the report, so Austin Hooper should be back. Does David Njoku have a good game? Or even Harrison Bryant, the rookie? I really think the Cleveland Browns offense is going to have a bounce-back performance, and they're going to put up a lot of points against this terrible Houston defense. I have nothing good to talk about the Houston defense. I'm sorry to my man, J.J. Watt, but your guys' defense has nothing promising on that side of the ball. And then you flip sides of the ball. What can keep them in this game is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is a stud. He has been balling out since Bill O'Brien's left, even though despite their 2-6 record, Deshaun Watson's having a great year. He's getting the ball to Brandon Cooks. He's getting the ball to Will Fuller. And then you're looking at a potential Duke Johnson revenge game because I believe David Johnson, he hasn't practiced all week with the concussions. It sounds like he's going to miss. So Duke Johnson maybe will try to get some revenge against his former team in the Browns. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I think they're going to have their opportunities to score on some drives. But this Cleveland defense it's getting healthy as well. You're talking about Denzel Ward's playing a really good year. Myles Garrett is just going to tear apart that Houston offensive line, as well as Larry Ogunjobi. Olivier Vernon was coming along a couple weeks ago. So I think they're going to get after Deshaun and frustrate him. I do think Deshaun will find ways to get the ball in the end zone, like I mentioned, but I think they're going to stall throughout the day as well. I think what this comes down to is the Browns offense is going to be more efficient than the Houston offense on Sunday. So I am going to go ahead and pick the Browns. They are at home. They are one of the teams with fans at games. So I know it's not that much, but even the slightest amount of fans have been able to make some noise. So I am going to pick the Browns to win in this game. I think they can win by 7 points. I think they win like a 31-24 type of win.
And
For
again, this is another
Cleveland.
one of those same ones. Not saying that we will miss this game, but there have been tests, so keep an eye on this one for your fantasy football lineups as well. Earlier this morning, they've confirmed a player test, come back positive. So again, like we tell you every week, doesn't really mean anything until they give you the news, but just keep an eye on it.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I think on the football happy hour when we talked about the NFL potentially expanding to 16-team playoffs, yeah, the game could potentially be pushed back or postponed if there is bad contact tracing. But at this point, it's all. It seems like the NFL is just basing everything off contact tracing and pushing along. So yeah, but Rob is right. Do pay attention to that because we do not know who that player is at the current moment. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and head into this last 1 p.m. game. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading into Carolina to face the Panthers. We do have no news on either team. So let's go ahead and look at the injury reports. Carlton Davis for the Bucs, he has not practiced with a knee injury. And then these number of players have been limited for Tampa. Shaquille Barrett with a shoulder, Chris Godwin with a finger, Ali Marpet with a concussion, Steve McClendon with a shoulder, Scotty Miller with a hip and a groin, Sean Murphy Bunting with a groin, and then Jason Pierre-Paul with a knee. And sadly, on Carolina's side, our boy CMC, he's already been ruled out this week with a shoulder injury. And then these two guys haven't practiced. Russell Okung with a calf, Stephen Weatherly with a finger. And then these four players have been limited for the Panthers. Reggie Bonifon with an ankle, Jeremy Chin with a knee, Marquise Haynes with a shoulder, and then Brian Burns with a groin injury. Let's go ahead and dive into this. Carolina's offense, how's it going to look? We've seen them without CMC earlier in this year. Mike Davis was a good story, and then once after a few weeks, it feels like he kind of disappeared, which was why the Carolina Panthers did need Christian McCaffrey back into that lineup. And now they're going to be going against a very angry Tampa Bay defense. They just got torn apart by the Saints offense, and they're going to want to bounce back. So I think Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaquille Barrett are going to have a good day. I think they're going to come off the edge very hard. They're going to come down on Teddy Bridgewater. I expect Levante David and Devin White to be flying all over the field and making plays, especially without the threat of Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. And then what it comes down to, though, is if Carlton Davis does miss, can Jamal Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting make sure guys like DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel don't beat them deep and have a good day against them through the air. With that being said, though, Carolina with Teddy Bridgewater, they find ways to move the chains. So I think that's going to happen on Sunday. They are the home team. I think Teddy's going to find ways to move the ball and get him down into the red zone, get him into scoring position. But I think the Bucs are just going to find ways to force turnovers throughout the day and get those sacks and make those drives stall. I feel like Carolina is going to struggle to find the end zone on Sunday. And then on the other side of the ball, man, everybody was like, who's going to stop the Tampa offense now that they got Antonio Brown? And it seemed like they just stopped themselves last week. Carolina's defense, they're good. They're good hustlers, but they're still missing a lot of pieces. And they can't really stop the run. The Bucs had a NFL low of 5 rushes last week. And I feel like this is going to be a game where they're going to force that issue, but in a good way. I think we're going to see a good performance out of Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. I think they're going to get both those guys going. And because, you got Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, but at the end of the day, you do need a proper balance so those weapons can be efficient as possible. And Tom Brady has always needed a running game to make him a good quarterback. So I think Bruce Arians, Brian Leftwich are going to figure out a way to get the running game going, and then that's just going to open up things for Tom Brady in the passing attack. I think they're going to have a good day on Sunday. They're going to find ways to get down the field, good chunk plays, get Mike Evans involved, get Rob Gronkowski involved, Chris Godwin, maybe even Antonio Brown, even though Bruce Arians says he wants to see less snaps of him, whatever that means. But I think the biggest key, though, that will help the Tampa offense is they should be getting Ali Marpet back. Ali Marpet is a all-pro guard, and that showed up when he was missing out of the lineup last week against the Saints, and he should be coming back this week. And with his presence on the offensive line, I expect this whole offense to bounce back, and I think they're gonna handle their business in Carolina. This is going to be an angry Tampa team. I think they should be able to win by a touchdown, if not more. I know they beat them earlier in the season by at least I think it was like 8 or 10 points. I'll say Tampa Bay wins this matchup like say they win like a 31-21 type of win for Tampa on Sunday. And we got no questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these 4 p.m. games. And let me get a quick swig of the coffee. All right. Thank you guys for being patient with me. All right. Let's go ahead and get in these Sunday 4 p.m. games. I cannot wait. Like these Sunday 4 p.m. Not only, like I said it earlier, not only do we have the 6 games at this 4 p.m. slot, but this 4 p.m. slot has some great matchups. And like, I don't even know. I'm going to be debating up until those games come on, because I always have Red Zone on and then whatever game I want to pay attention to. And I'm going to be debating a lot between either this game and maybe the Cardinals Bills. Let me just go ahead and get into this matchup. I'm over here trying to talk about my Sunday to you guys. The first game I'm going to talk about is we got the rookie quarterbacks battling. Los Angeles Chargers is traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins. We got Justin Herbert versus Tua Tagovailoa. Let's dive into these injury reports for LA. Justin Jackson has not practiced this week with a knee injury. Joey Bosa has been limited with a concussion, as well as Brian Bulaga has been limited with a back injury. On the Miami side, Matt Breida has been limited with a hamstring. Jamal Perry has been limited with a foot. And Durham Smythe has been limited with a concussion. Let's start with the Miami offense, man. I was so super impressed with Tua's performance last Sunday. How he seemed so composed in the pocket. I was impressed with his mobility outside the pocket, his willing to run to pick up first downs, his accuracy when he was throwing the ball. I was just overall super impressed with Tua last week. I know it's a small sample size, but they might have found their guy. But they are going to be somewhat limited on that offense. Preston Williams, I believe, is done for the season. So they really only got Devontae Parker as a true receiving threat. Mike Gesicki, he'll be involved, but he's a inconsistent tight end at this point of his career. And then their running back room doesn't really have nothing to write about. Jordan Howard has some crazy stat line where I think he has 28 rushes for 33 yards and 4 touchdowns, if I remember that right. It's pretty ridiculous. Then Matt Breida will be back. They did trade for Dwayne Washington last week. Salvin Ahmed had a decent performance in his first game as a rookie this past week. But they are going against a good Chargers defense. You know, they got a good defensive front. It looks like Joey Bosa might be returning from his concussion this week, and that means he'll be going against it's an improved offensive line, but it's still at the end of the day, Joey Bosa is Joey Bosa, so he can tear apart any lineman in front of him. So I think he's going to be able to get after Tua, and that's where it's going to come down to is if Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Jerry Tillery in the middle, if those guys can eat up that offensive line and put pressure on Tua and force him into rookie mistakes, that's where they're going to give themselves a chance. But I do think Miami's going to find ways to move the ball and put themselves in the scoring position. But I do think they're limited on offense just because of the lack of true weapons surrounding by Tua. So I feel like their offense is going to have moments where they do stall against this Chargers defense. Maybe they have to settle for a field goal to get in the end zone. But I do think they're going to be able to score at least maybe 2 to 3 touchdowns on Sunday. And then you move sides of the ball. Justin Herbert, man, the kid continues to impress week in and week out. It doesn't matter that they somehow lose these stupid close games when they should have, won, for example, last week against the Raiders. But then you can go the previous week and the previous week. But Justin Herbert, man, kid is balling out. I did see that he is averaging 300 passing yards a game. And if he can keep up that average, he will be the first rookie quarterback ever in NFL history to average 300 passing yards as a rookie. But with that being said, he's got a very true test against Miami. Brian Flores has this defense coached up. Xavier Howard, Brian Jones they're making the case to be the top cornerback tandem in the league. They're going to be, going against a good wide receiver tandem with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So I think that's the matchup to watch when the Chargers are on the offensive side of the ball is can those wide receivers get open against those good cornerbacks? And maybe that does open up things for Hunter Henry in the middle because those wide receivers will be getting so much attention. I believe Kyle Van Noy and Christian Wilkins, they were placed on the list for being a close contact. I do not know if that means they're going to be able to play so I don't even list them, guys, when I do the podcast because there are these people being placed on the list. They're just coming in week and week out. It's so hard to keep track. So it is possible Miami's going to be missing some guys on their defense on Sunday. And if that's the case, I think Hunter Henry's going to have a good day on Sunday. But the thing with the Chargers is, can they get the run game going? Justin Jackson's probably going to be out, so it's going to be Joshua Kelly. Is this a Kalen Ballage revenge game against the Dolphins? I mean, somehow he looked like a competent running back last week for the Chargers, so maybe that can help them get things going on the offensive side of the ball. And with Justin Herbert, man, he can take a top off of defense with that arm, especially when they got guys like Jalen Guyton that has the speed to go down the field and stretch out things. I think the Chargers offense will be able to move the ball, but Brian Flores is such a good defensive-minded coach. He's going to find ways to frustrate Justin Herbert and force him, I think, into some rookie mistakes. Man, this is a tough game for me to pick because, I feel like the Dolphins' offense is somewhat limited, that the Chargers are going to have a chance to win this game. But guess what? Chargers can't find a way to win games. I trust Brian Flores over Anthony Lynn at this point. Until the Chargers can prove they can find ways to finish the fourth quarter with a W, I can't pick them to win a game, especially when they're going against just an overall solid, good team in Miami right now. I do think Miami finds a way to pull off the win at the end of the day. I do think it's going to come down to who has the ball last. I say Miami kicks a field goal with Jason Sanders, who's having a career year as a kicker. They win it's a good score, like a 31-28 type of win for Miami. And then the next game we got the Denver Broncos traveling out to Las Vegas to face the Raiders. Let's see. Yep, no news on either team. So let's just talk about the injury report for Denver. These three players have not practiced this week. DeMar Dotson with a groin and hand. Joseph Jones with a calf. Jake Rogers with a shoulder. These four players have been limited for Denver. Jerry Jeudy with a shoulder. Bryce Callahan with an ankle. Tim Patrick with a hamstring. And Deontay Spencer with a shoulder. And then we look at the Las Vegas side of the ball. We got Maurice Hurst, who hasn't practiced with an ankle injury, Colton Miller with an ankle injury, and then these number of players have been limited. Jonathan Abram with a groin, Alec Ingold with ribs, Arden Key with a foot, Trayvon Mullen with a hamstring, Keyshawn Nixon with a groin, and then Sam Young with a knee and ankle. Starting with Las Vegas offense, man, they're pretty much flowing right now at this point. Derek Carr is definitely making me eat a whole plate of crow with his play this year. He is definitely taking those deep shots. I'm sure if Jack is listening into this morning, that might put a smile on his face that I'm actually talking good about Derek Carr for once. And they did win that game last week. I said on last week's episode, that game against the Chargers, I was like, hey, this is a statement game to me, at least, because they always end up losing that type of game, even though all it took was Mike Williams or what's that kid's name, the young tight end from the XFL. All it took was them to hold on the ball that Justin Herbert placed in their hands, and they would have lost. But I'm not going to dive into that. Let's talk about this Raiders offense, though. Josh Jacobs is going. They even got Devontae Booker going on the ground. Derek Carr's having a good year. a bounce back type of year for his career. They're getting Nelson Aguilar out of all people involved, Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, and they got Brian Edwards back in the lineup. It was his first game back since an injury, so I think he'll start stepping up as we progress throughout the rest of the season. And then they're going against a Denver defense that's, they're pretty good against the run, but they can struggle against the pass. So I think they're going to have to actually try to pick them apart through the air with like Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. I think they're going to use that ground and pound type of style and then go to the play action when needed to pick them apart through the air, which Derek does do pretty well in the short to intermediate routes with his accuracy. And I think they're going to find time. I think they're going to be in position to at least get field goals, but I think they should be able to convert those drives into touchdowns more than field goals. But I don't think they're going to be punting much against Denver. I really do believe that. And then you flip sides of the ball for the Broncos. It's going to come down to this game is what Broncos team shows up in the first half. When Drew Lock plays, it's weird. Like the first half, he looks awful. He looks like the quarterback I thought he was going to be in the NFL. Inaccurate, turnovers, struggles, tries to force the issue. And then when things get in the second half, when they're down, he all of a sudden starts opening up, delivering the ball, and the offense is flowing. So what are we going to see from this Denver offense? They are going against an up and down Raiders defense. You can run the ball against them. So does Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay got a good game going? You can throw the ball against them. Can Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick and Noah Fant get the ball going through the air? Now, if this offense can come out humming in the beginning of the game, I think it will give them a chance to win. I mean, these divisional matchups are always tough. But it's going to come down to what Denver team we see in the first half, because if it's going to be the typical Denver team we see in the first half, I think the Raiders are going to open up to a big lead, and they're going to be able to find a way to hold on to that big lead. But say Denver gets the ball first and they just march down the field and score a touchdown. Maybe they make a stop on defense, march down the field, go all of a sudden they're up 14-0, and all of a sudden the Raiders, they got to spread things out wide, and they're not their typical offense. That's how Denver can win. But with that being said, I'm going to pick the Raiders just because they just feel like a better coach team at this point. They feel like they have an identity on offense, at least at this point. I'm not sure what they are on defense. But I think I trust John Gruden over Vic Fangio as a head coach. So I am going to pick the Raiders to win. It is a divisional matchup, so maybe this does stay as a close game. Raiders win like a 28 to I'll say like a 28 to 24 type of win. I think maybe Denver can make it spicy at some point in the game. Now let's go to this other game. I'm very looking forward to. We got the Buffalo Bills traveling out to Arizona to face the Cardinals. So we got Josh Allen versus Kyle Murray. That's going to be a fun game to watch. Before I get in this game preview, I thought this was so cool to see. For those that don't know, Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, his grandmother died last Saturday night. And he went on to play on Sunday in honor of his grandmother. And as we all know, he completely balled out against the Seahawks in that win. I know there's an interview I think that's going to be played on Sunday from Josh Allen. It was pretty cool. It kind of got my goosebumps raised. He was talking to, I think, Kim Jones. He said like he felt like his grandmother was on the field with him on Sunday. So that's cool that Josh was able to have a great game after losing his grandmother. But that's the reason why I'm bringing that story up is Bills Mafia. They're great. They're great people. Everybody remembers they donated all that money to Andy Dalton's charity a couple years ago when the Bengals beat. I think the Bengals beat the Ravens, which allowed the Bills to make the playoffs 2 years ago, if I remember that right. And as of yesterday, Bills Mafia has donated over $400,000. I'm probably going to butcher this. $400,000 to Oshei. It's Oishei. If anybody wants to look into it, Oshei's Children's Hospital to honor Josh Allen's late grandmother. So Bills Mafia, not only you crash through tables, but you crash through charities. So in a good way. So yeah, let me go ahead and get into this injury report really quick. For Buffalo, Tywan Jones, he did not practice with a hamstring. And then these number of players have been limited for Buffalo. John Feliciano with a back, Cody Ford with an ankle, Josh Norman with a hamstring, Delshawn Phillips with a quad, Tre'Davious White with an ankle, Brian Winters with a knee, and then Micah Hyde with an ankle. And then these number of players have not practiced for the Cardinals. This could be a big one. Buda Baker hasn't practiced with a groin. Like Futu with an ankle, Justin Murray with a hand, Jordan Phillips with a hamstring, Lamont Gallard with an illness, Chris Strebler with an illness, and then these four guys have been limited this week. Deontay Thompson with a knee, Max Williams with an ankle, Kenyon Drake with an ankle, and then Drake Kirkpatrick with a thigh. Um, and then as far as this game, let's start with Arizona. They coming off a rough loss against the Miami Dolphins last week at home. They're going to be looking to bounce back, but they are going against a Bills defense that has been finding some confidence over the last couple weeks. But I wouldn't say the Bills defense is exactly back. They can still be picked apart on the ground. They can still be picked apart through the air. So who can emerge in this game? DeAndre Hopkins had a quiet game last week, so maybe he can bounce back, but I'm sure they're going to try to stick Tre'Davious White on him as much as possible. And then Christian Kirk has been coming along the last couple weeks, being that deep threat for Kyler Murray. So who do they stick on him? But at the end of the day, what it comes down to for the Bills defense anyways is how do they contain Kyler Murray? He had like 11 or 12 rushes for over 100 yards last week, and he's what keeps this Arizona offense on the field. When everything breaks down, when all the wide receivers are covered, he can pick up a first down with his elusiveness out in the open field with his quick feet. So are they going to spy him with Tremaine Edmonds? Do they maybe use somebody a lot faster than him? It's going to be interesting to see how Sean McDermott comes up with a way to contain Kyler Murray. Now, I will say Kyler Murray is a faster quarterback than Russell Wilson, but I do think the Bills can take what they did against Russell Wilson and put that against Kyler Murray on Sunday. With that being said, though, with Kyler Murray's ability to pick up first downs, I think they're going to be able to find ways to put themselves in position to score some points, but it's going to be coming down to can they convert those red zone opportunities into touchdowns over field goals. And then you reverse sides of the ball. The Bills offense completely got back on track last week, and I think what it is John Brown. John Brown completely makes that offense. Yes, he was playing in the previous weeks, but he was banged up, and I think we got a healthy John Brown back. A healthy John Brown with Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley completely makes that offense so hard to stop, especially when you got a rookie like Gabriel Davis that's coming along. So I think they're going to be able to pick the Cardinals through the air, especially if Buda Baker's hurt. Buda Baker's the playmaker, and outside Buda Baker, really, they still got Patrick Peterson, but he's not the same anymore. I like Byron Murphy, but he's not necessarily a playmaker at this point. So I think they're going to have opportunities to get to Stephon Diggs deep, have Cole Beasley pick them apart in the middle. Maybe even Dawson Knox going to have a good game. And what that leads to is Zach Moss and Devin Singletary being productive and efficient out of the backfield as well. And then you're talking about Jordan Phillips and Like Futu. They haven't practiced this week for Arizona, so they're going to struggle to stop the run. And that's going to also open up things for another guy that can keep drives alive with his legs, which is Josh Allen. So I think Josh Allen is going to continue to do what he did last week and put up some great numbers against the Arizona defense. I think this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be a back and forth battle. If you're a gambling man, I would definitely probably hammer the over on this. This is a tough one for me to pick because Arizona is at home. Now, assuming Buda Baker can't play this week, I think that's going to be the difference in this, missing him for Arizona. With that being said, if Buda Baker's out, I'm picking the Bills to win this game. They had the ball last, and either they get in position to get a touchdown or a field goal. Let's go with a 35-31 win for the Bills, because I think missing Budda Baker is going to be the difference for the Cardinals. All right, let's go on to the next game. We got the San Francisco 49ers traveling to New Orleans to face the Saints. A little injury news note for the 49ers defense. The hits keep on coming with the injuries for San Francisco. Jaquiski Tartt is done for the season with his injury that was announced recently this week. All these guys have not practiced for San Francisco. Tevin Coleman with a knee, River Craycraft with a quadricep, Demetrius Flanagan Foles with a hamstring, Deebo Samuel with a hamstring, and Kwan Williams with an ankle. And then these 5 players have been limited for New Orleans. Eric McCoy with an elbow, Drew Brees with a shoulder, Ryan Ramczyk with a back, Michael Thomas with an ankle and hamstring, and then Dwayne Washington with a back injury. Let's just go ahead, start with the Saints offense. They got things going last week. They got the guy I can't stand going last week, which is Taysom Hill. Yes, I am a Taysom Hill hater. Come at me, Saints Nation. But the fact is, they did get him going against the Bucs last week. We'll see if that can continue. Michael Thomas was back in the lineup, but he really wasn't asked to do much. I think they're still kind of working him back from his injury. But I feel like we're going to see like a Michael Thomas, like 10 to 15 reception type of game against the 49ers, just because the 49ers are so banged up. Kwan Williams is on the injury report. I don't know who they, outside of Fred Warner, they really don't have much on that defense right now. They do have our boy Javon Kinlaw, but he's still a rookie. I think Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, Jared Cook, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, maybe in a slight, it's not really a true revenge game, but technically it is. I think all of them are going to have a good day on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to be able to be in scoring position, and I think they're going to find ways to score touchdowns more than field goals on Sunday. On the different side of the ball, the 49ers offense, what is it going to look like? Obviously, I think Deebo Samuel's out, and it looks like Tevin Coleman's going to be out as well. So they're going to be leaning on Jerick McKinnon and JaMycal Hasty on the ground. They got Brandon Ayuk back this week, but I don't know if he's going to be making much of a difference as a rookie wide receiver. Nick Mullins is the quarterback. I think I said it yesterday when we were talking about streaming defenses on the Fantasy Voyage. I think that Bucs win for that Saints defense is going to give them a lot of confidence going forward. So I think the Saints defense is going to come to play on Sunday. I think they're going to frustrate Nick Mullins all day. I think Cameron Jordan's going to get after him, Marcus Davenport as well. And I think they're going to find ways to convert some turnovers on Sunday. Maybe because it's Kyle Shanahan, he can come up with a scheme that keeps them in the game in the first half. This might be a game where like Kyle Shanahan's coaching can keep this team within a score to like the third or fourth quarter. And then at some point, the Saints are going to pull away with a win in the fourth quarter. I do think the Saints handle their business in the Big Easy. They win like a 31-17 type of win against the 49ers. I really do think they're going to handle their business. Going to this next game, we got the Seattle Seahawks traveling to LA to face the Rams. A little news note on the Seahawks. Snacks Harrison, he's been spending for like basically the last, I think, month and a half on their practice squad. He is expected to make his debut, but he's more of a run stuffer. I don't know if he's going to help the passing defense for Seattle. Now, Seattle's injury report, it is rough. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is 9 or 10 guys that haven't practiced. Chris Carson with a foot, Ethan Pochitz with a concussion. I think I totally butchered everything I just said right there. Quinton Dunbar with a knee, Benson Mayowa with an ankle, Shaquille Griffin with a concussion and ankle, Carlos Hyde with a hamstring, Brian Moan with an ankle, KJ Wright with an ankle, Dwayne Brown with a knee, and Penny Hart with a knee. And it doesn't just start right there. These number of guys have been limited for Seattle. Mike Iupati with a back, Travis Homer with a knee, and Jerron Reed with a knee. And then you look at the Rams side of the ball. Andrew Whitworth with a back injury hasn't practiced, as well as Leonard Floyd with a knee. And then these three players have been limited for LA. Darrell Henderson with a quad, Cooper Kupp with an oblique, and then Terrell Lewis with a shoulder. Whew. This is interesting because I like myself some Russell Wilson, but I feel like we're going to have an upset by Rob's Rams here because of all these injuries on Seattle's side of the ball.
And it doesn't matter who's favored these games. It's always a crapshoot. The Rams and Seahawks historically.
Oh, that is true.
Like we just battle each other.
Your Rams would always beat them when they're the favorites, and then they would always beat you guys when they're the favorites. So diving into this, Rams are coming off a bye week. They're relatively healthy. I'm not really buying into the Andrew Whitworth DMP. I think it's more of a rest. He's an older veteran and an older tackle. I think he practices and he gives it a go. Sean McVay had 2 weeks to totally prepare for this game. Seattle's defense is truly awful this year. They cannot stop the pass. And then when they can't stop the pass and they got Quentin Dunbar and Shaquille Griffin, their two best cornerbacks, haven't practiced this week. If those guys can't go, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and our boy Van Jefferson, Josh Reynolds, the tight ends, they're going to eat them alive in the passing attack. I think Jared Goff might have a career day. Yes, I just said that. I think Jared Goff might throw for the most passing yards he has done in his career against the Seattle defense. I think they're going to have a good game. I think Darrell Henderson could have a good game, or Cam Akers, whatever running back they're going to decide.
Yeah, whoever they insert, right?
Yeah.
And you've heard me talk on the voyage the last few weeks about Higbee. Don't do Higbee. Gut feeling Higbee gets a tutty this week. So I know I've been telling you guys on the fantasy voyage to go other ways, but I think Higbee gets the tutty this week.
Yeah, I think this Rams offense, they're going to be in a scoring position. So it's either, I feel like most of their drives, I feel like I can go ahead and confidently say 80 to 90% of those drives are going to finish with a field goal attempt or a touchdown. I really do. But on the other side of the ball, you got Russell Wilson. Yes, he's kind of came back down to earth over the last couple of weeks with his interceptions, but he's still Russell Wilson. It'll be interesting to see how the Rams use Jalen Ramsey. Are they going to stick him on DK Metcalf? Or are they going to stick him on Tyler Lockett, or both? Either way, that should open up things for the other wide receiver. But they're still missing their running backs. DJ Dallas, he's been solid, but he's not a world beater. And if they're missing Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, they're not going to really have much of a rushing attack. If Jalen Ramsey can completely eliminate DK or Tyler Lockett, whoever they choose to stick him on, this feels like this Rams defense can actually somewhat limit this Seahawks attack. And then the Seahawks offensive line, it's not that great. And then you're talking about Ethan Poach. It hasn't practiced all week. Mike Iupati has been dealing with an injury all year. This is setting up for an Aaron Donald type of good day where he can get 2 sacks on the day. But with that being said, I do think Russell Wilson, he's a magic man. Like, you can't count him out. He's going to find ways to put this team in scoring position. If he has to will them back to put them back into a chance to win this game, he will. But it's the defense is starting to rear its ugly head for Seattle. We saw that last week against Buffalo, where Josh Allen completely tore him apart. And it got to the point where Russell wasn't enough. He can't bring them back when a team is scoring 40 points against the defense. So with that being said, until Seattle figures out their defense, I think they're going to struggle going forward against good offensive-minded teams, and that's what Sean McVay is. I am going to pick the Rams. I think the Rams win this. Coming off a bye week, Sean McVay had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. They know this team. They faced them how many times, like Rob just talked about. It's going to be a bloodbath type of game. With that being said, with Russell Wilson, he's always going to give them a shot to win. Divisional matchups are always typically close. It's going to be a shootout. I say the Rams squeeze out a win. How do I want to do this? Oh, that's a little too much high. I say the Rams win like a 34-31 type of game for the Rams. And then we're going to go ahead and head into this last 4 p.m. game. We got the Cincinnati Bengals facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Little note, Tack McKinley, I talked about him earlier. The Bengals end up claiming him off the waivers. So he's going to be going to their defense to see if maybe he can turn around his career. As far as injuries, though, for Cincinnati, these 4 players haven't practiced. Mackenzie Alexander with an illness, Bobby Hart with a knee, Joe Mixon with a foot, Darius Phillips with a groin, and then Jonah Williams was limited with a stinger. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers are relatively healthy. Juju Smith-Schuster hasn't practiced with a knee, but he's kind of like A.J. Brown. He kind of takes the beginning part of the practice week off, but then he's usually good to go by Sunday. And then Tyson Alulu, or however you say that name, he's been limited with a knee injury. Another thing to note, too, Ben Roethlisberger is going this whole week because he's on the list as a close contact without practicing. But the expectation is as long as he passes his test, he will be playing Sunday. So it's going to be like a Matthew Stafford situation from last week where Stafford didn't practice all week and then he played on the game on Sunday. But does that lead to any inconsistencies for the Pittsburgh offense? I don't think so. I trust Big Ben. He's been in this league for a long time. He's got plenty of weapons. They're also going against a weaker defense in Cincinnati. They're going to be probably missing Darius Phillips, maybe even Mackenzie Alexander. So that should maybe open up things for Juju. Chris Claypool. I had a brain fart there. I'm sorry, guys. Claypool, Deontay Johnson. But I also think Eric Ebron. I think Eric Ebron is going to be a guy that has a good game to see if they can get the ground game going with Connor as well. I think they're going to be able to pick apart the Cincinnati defense, and they're going to score touchdowns throughout the day. And then on the other side of the ball, though, is Joe Burrow. That kid is the real deal. He's always going to keep his team in a game outside the Baltimore Ravens thrashing that they took. They've always had a chance to at least potentially win a game. With that being said, though, they are going against that Pittsburgh defense, which is very good. Looks like Joe Mixon is not going to play, and I don't like their chances if Joe Mixon's not in the lineup. Sure, Giovanni Bernard has been a solid fill-in guy, but when you're going against a potential high-powered offense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, you want a guy like Joe Mixon that can churn the yards, get first downs, and play clock control. With that being said, the Bengals offensive line, it did play well a couple times in the last couple weeks before their bye, but I'm still not buying into it. I think T.J. Watt's going to get after Joe Burrow all day. Cameron Hayward's going to blow up things in the middle, and Bud Dupree on the opposite side of T.J. Watt. I see a lot of sacks. I see a long afternoon for Joe Burrow. Maybe he has a couple of drives. He can get them in a scoring position, but I see a lot of stall opportunities and potential turnovers by this Bengals offense. I do think Steelers should be able to handle their business. Now, I like Joe Burrow, so maybe he does keep it interesting, but I think the defense is a detriment to this team at this point. So I think the Steelers should be able to win by 7 to 10 points. Let's just say the Steelers win like a 28-17 type of win on Sunday. Now, before I get into this, let me take a swig of coffee because, Rob, are you looking at this New England injury report?
It feels like every week we're just like, let's see if we can break Cody with a 2-page injury report at least one team.
Dude, and it's always New England. New England is so banged up here.
Insane.
It's why. I mean, outside of their opt-outs, like their injuries are why they've...
Oh, and then just as a reminder for New England fans out there, don't forget that you guys are the ones that traded the pick to Seattle for DK. Just want to throw that out there for you one more time.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this. I'm gonna do the Ravens really quick injury report. These three players haven't practiced for Baltimore. Calais Campbell with a calf, Jimmy Smith with an ankle, Mark Ingram with an ankle. These two guys have been limited. Matthew Judon with a calf and LJ Fort with a finger. And then let's dive into this. These three players haven't practiced for New England. Stephon Gilmore with a knee, Jonathan Jones with an illness, Terrence Brooks with an illness. Now, here it starts. All these guys have been limited for New England this week. Jawan Bentley with a groin, Shalik Calhoun with a knee, Carl Davis with a concussion, Cody Davis with a calf, Kyle Duggar with an ankle, Nick Folk with a back, Lawrence Guy with a shoulder, elbow, and knee. When I put that together, Rob, last night, I was thinking that Boosie Shong shoulders.
Yeah, this guy's what our
All
Lawrence
types of
guy
ankles.
is healthy.
Right. And then let's keep it going. Damian Harris with an ankle and chest, N'Keal Harry with a concussion, Ryan Izzo with a hamstring, J.C. Jackson with a knee, Shaq Mason with a calf, John Simon with an elbow, Joe Thuney with an ankle, Dietrich Wise with a knee and hand, Isaiah Wynn with an ankle, and finally J.J. Taylor with an illness. Whew, man, I don't know how New England can even get a team out there. Let's start with New England. They barely squeezed off a win against the Jets last week. They have no type of passing attack. They only got really Jacoby Myers going right now. I think Cam Newton hasn't thrown a passing touchdown since like week 2. And they're going against a pretty stout defense against Baltimore. Maybe they can try to get the run game going. Maybe not Bill, but Josh McDaniels can maybe figure out some things to go against this Baltimore defense. But I really don't see that happening. I think Baltimore is going to be able to contain the run. They got, even without Calais Campbell, they still have a great, solid defensive front. I think Yannick Ngakoue can make his presence known as a Raven this Sunday and chase down Cam a couple times. You're going to see Patrick Queen flying all over the field and making tackles. And maybe we can see Marcus Peters, maybe Marlon Humphrey is back. He's been activated off the list. So maybe one of those guys can get their hands on the ball and force a turnover. I think New England's offense is going to struggle throughout the day. Maybe they can get in scoring position, but I don't see them scoring maybe outside. I don't know if they can score more than 2 touchdowns against this Baltimore defense. And then on the other side of the ball, Baltimore's offense hasn't been pretty. With that being said, Lamar Jackson has struggled to throw the ball this year. Their running attack isn't really the same between him and the running backs going on, but they are going against a New England defense that has been suspect to let up the rushing attack. I think this is a bounce back game for that unit. I think we're going to see a J.K. Dobbins good game. Gus Edwards will get going. I think we're going to see Lamar Jackson break off a couple runs. This could be a game, too, where Marquise Brown can take the top off the defense. Maybe they get Mark Andrews going, but the New England is pretty good against the tight end. But who knows, though? It's Bill Belichick. He is a defensive mind. Maybe he could come up with something, but I really don't think. I think between all those opt-outs, all these injuries, I think Baltimore is going to run all over the New England defense. I think they have the capabilities of putting up 3+ touchdowns against this defense. I really think the Baltimore Ravens are going to handle business on Sunday night. I think they should be able to win by at least a touchdown. I think Baltimore wins like a. Well, this is in New England, but New England doesn't have any fans, so it's not the same anymore. I think they handle their business. It might be a very boring game for us on Sunday night. I kind of wish they would swap one of those late Sunday afternoon games for this game.
Oh, they're not doing that. Us Patriots haters are like, yeah, televise them getting the crap kicked out of them. That's what we want.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the crap kicked out of them. I think Baltimore should be able to win like a 20. It's going to be like a low-scoring beat-out. It's going to be like a 28-10 type of win, some type of weird score like that. Let me go to the next game, though, the Monday night game. We have again, if you have any questions for me about fantasy or just football in general, get those questions in on YouTube. Otherwise, I will wrap up this episode once I wrap up the preview of the Monday night game. The Monday night game, we got Minnesota traveling to Chicago to face the Bears. With the injuries on the Vikings side, Irv Smith Jr. hasn't. Again, this is just one practice, so don't buy into these injuries too much. Let's see how they come out over the next 2 days. Irv Smith Jr. with a groin, CJ Ham with a shoulder, both haven't practiced, and then Cam Dantzler has been limited with a concussion. The Bears have a number of guys that haven't practiced. John Jenkins with an ankle, Cole Kmet with a groin, Sherrick McManus with a hand, David Montgomery with a concussion, Sam Mustipher with a knee, Jason Spriggs with a knee, Mitch Trubisky with a shoulder. And these number of guys have been limited for Chicago. Deshaun Gibson with a foot, Barkevius Mingo with a shoulder, Allen Robinson with a knee, and then Roquan Smith with a back injury. Starting with Chicago's offense, it's awful. I mean, what can I say about it? They can't get anything going. Nick Foles is not the Nick Foles that they wanted him to be. David Montgomery has been struggling, and then he's hurt. So, but with that being said, they are going against the Vikings defense that has been suspect at letting up big performances by offenses, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Zimmer's going to be able to figure out a ways to get after Nick Foles and pressure him into mistakes. We'll see who they do stick on Allen Robinson. Jeff Gladney has been coming along as a rookie for the Vikings, and they still got Harrison Smith. They still got Eric Kendricks, guys in the middle that could potentially force some turnovers. I think the Bears offense, though, maybe they can get creative in this matchup. Maybe we can see a Matt Nagy coming up with some plays that can get them going on the offensive side of the ball. But as I say every week with the Bears offense, I'm not going to say they're going to get anything going until I see that happen. Maybe they can get in position to get some scoring points, but man, that Chicago offense is just so ugly. Chicago's lost like 4 of their last 5 games or something like that. So they're on a losing streak, and then they're going against a very hot Minnesota offense. Dalvin Cook has rushed for over 400 yards in the last 2 games, which has allowed Kirk Cousins just to kind of settle in and just make easy throws. But with that being said, they are going against a very stout Chicago defense. They're going to have a tougher time moving the ball against this defense. So we'll see if Kirk Cousins can deliver. They're going to need him because I think Chicago's defense can somewhat contain Dalvin Cook. They're going to need Justin Jefferson to step up, Adam Thielen to step up, Kyle Rudolph to step up. We'll see if Irv Smith can get a practice in, but if he can't go, they're going to really need Kyle Rudolph to get going. And that for that offensive line, it's been playing a lot better the last couple of weeks, but they're going to really need to hold their own against Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, and Akeem Hicks up the middle. Also, too, I think I mentioned this on, the Fantasy Voyage yesterday. Vikings struggle against Chicago in Soldier Field. I want to say they have lost the last 17 of 19 games in Chicago. Kirk Cousins is 0-9 on Monday Night Football. So history says the Vikings are probably going to struggle in this game. With that being said, though, the Vikings are the hotter team. I don't trust that Bears offense. It's probably going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. I just think Dalvin Cook's going to find a way to break off some big runs throughout the game and put the Minnesota's offense in scoring position. I trust the Minnesota offense to score more touchdowns, even if it's just only 1 or 2 touchdowns over the Chicago offense. I say the Vikings win like a weird 17-13 type of game on Monday night. And so that's the episode, guys. No questions are in, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. As always, I like to thank anybody that tuned into this live edition of Cody Talks NFL. Again, if you did tune in live, make sure you have subscribed to the YouTube channel for Blitzalytics. That way, you know when any of our shows go live. You get the football happy hour, which I'm a part of on Tuesdays around 9 p.m. Eastern. You get me and Rob on the Fantasy Voyage. Typically, that is Wednesdays around the 10 to 11 hour. Again, sometimes we have things come up where we do have to push it to a Thursday, but typically you can find us there on Wednesdays. I'm always here on Friday mornings. And then typically, depending on Roy's schedule, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, Roy Countryman comes out with his Steel City sermon on Saturdays. Usually he gets that going either in the morning or in the mid-afternoon. So that's why you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do know when our shows go live. And also, if you do miss a live episode, you could always maybe just come back later and watch it in your convenience. But another thing I always push is if you are more of an audio listener, make sure you subscribe to the Blitzalytics Podcast Network. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, you name it. You can find us. Just Google search it. and you can get us on any major platform, and you can get the audio version of all these shows, the Blitz Breakdown, this show, Fantasy Voyage, and the Football Happy Hour. As always, too, I said it earlier, go buy the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia, blitzalytics.com/shop. You can also get it on Amazon and on Target as well. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the episode. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back on the Football Happy Hour on Tuesday. Otherwise, we'll be back with Cody Talks NFL next Friday. You guys have a great weekend and enjoy the football on Sunday. Blitz out.
Welcome back to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.